All right, welcome everybody. I'm going to do my best to get started on time and end on time. I think we got 1 hour to hang out. I promise you this is going to be probably much different than any other session that you're going to hear at this conference. And hopefully at least 60% entertainment, if not maybe a little more. Don't tell anybody. I do have some takeaways in here, and if you write them down, it's going to, did I just forward that slide? Yeah. If you write them down, it will help your agency. So I'm Chip Dodd. I'm the President and CEO of Support Services of Virginia. I'm going to be a little more nervous today because a bunch of my employees and the persons we support, I can't undo that right now, can you mind? A bunch of persons we support are here, so it's going to make me nervous more than normal presentations, but either way, we're going to have a lot of fun and go through a little bit of an adventure. Who here knows what adventure racing is? Has anybody heard of it? A couple of my employees that are very awesome, and they know that I'm very passionate about it. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to take adventure racing, which is this crazy sport that I love doing, and I'm going to apply it to takeaways that you could put into your agency, into the caregivers that you work with. Basically, help you understand this whole waiver thing that we're doing at this conference. But before we get too deep into it, let's get into what is adventure racing. Just because it'll help give a framework to my whole presentation. Now I realize it's a little bit dim and you can't see it, so I'm just going to describe it. What you see here is a circle going around. An adventure race is, think of it like a triathlon, that like most triathlons have swimming, biking, running. What happens in adventure racing though is it could be canyoneering, it could be mountain biking, it could be ropes like rappelling, rock climbing. They just throw everything at you. Like it's this crazy adventure in the backwoods of whatever state, city, country that we're in. So I've done them anywhere from like downtown city areas all the way to the jungles of Belize. I really can't read it, but like leg 2, for example, 61 miles of biking and canoeing. Leg 3, 70 miles of biking. Leg 4, 18 miles of trekking. Leg 5, 64 miles of trekking and biking. Leg 6, 24 miles of kayaking. You can just see this is going to take you 3.5, 4 days long. And there's no sleeping. When you sleep, you're on the clock. So you're welcome to sleep. But if you want to get near the top and really push it on an adventure race, there's no sleeping. So can you believe that? So the craziest one we did, Andrew and I did one in Belize, and it was 4 days and 5 hours. We slept for a total of 4 hours over that whole period of time. Like the people that are crazy do this stuff, and you're looking at one of them. But the cool thing about adventure racing is, it's hard to see, this is going to drive me crazy. What you're seeing up here is a crowd of women that just participated in I think it was a 6-hour adventure race at Shenandoah State Park. These are people just like you guys, and men, you know. This happens to be the Buff Betty, women-only adventure race. You don't have to be a crazy cuckoo like me to go want to do it for 4 days long. You could just go to a park on a weekend and do one of these. So think of it like a 5K or a 10K, things like that are completely accessible to people of all skill sets, okay? So for the Buff Betty, I was able to be the photographer for this. Because, of course, I mean, you're hanging out with, 70 ladies running around in the woods, and they need help with compasses and stuff, and I was just having the time of my life. But this map up here gives you an idea of what an adventure race does, and I'm going to apply it to running your agency. So if you look at the very top of the screen, there's the race start and finish. It's an orienteering section that goes right into a bike section, and after the bike section, you go into a canoe, and then you paddle down river. So the yellow circle at the top is the orienteering area. There's a bunch of little red dots that you can't see, but you have to run around in the woods and find these little dots. What they are, these little flags called checkpoints. They're orange. You run up to them with a thing called a passport, and you punch them. And now you can prove that you've been to that checkpoint. So in the Buff Betty, there was a handful of checkpoints that were orienteering, which means you're running through the woods map and compass. No support, no cones, you're out there in the woods on your own. The next section, the big circle in the middle now, this is the bicycle orienteering section. So now you're on a bike with your map and compass, and you're running around through the woods trying to find these checkpoints. You have to drop your bike and run into the woods and go find them. It's actually pretty hard, especially depending on the foliage and stuff. And there's bugs and spiders and all kinds of fun stuff that you're looking forward to. Hence their name, Knee Deep in Mud and Loving Life, right? Because we're looking forward to going out and getting muddy. Different way of looking at life. The last section in this Buff Betty race last year was the paddling section. You think Buff Betty's funny, don't you? The paddling section is the last section. And so they start at the bottom of the map, and then they paddle all the way back to the start finish and run across having done something that's truly amazing. And I'm telling you, people from all levels, college kids that are really, really fast but have no idea how to use a compass, all the way to people that I can't believe they're doing this race. They're climbing up mountains that I would be scared to climb up. And I'm taking photos thinking this is horrifying. I'm so scared this lady's going to fall and roll down this hill. What was amazing to me that was most profound about this race is that these folks were overcoming so much. The lack of skill, the lack of experience and everything, but no matter what, they went out there and they pushed and they wouldn't stop. They tried something new. They got out of their comfort zone. And that's really when I realized kind of like this adventure racing thing is a lot like what we do for a living, is getting out of our comfort zone. So my first adventure race was a 24-hour race at that same park, Shenandoah. And my epiphany, right following the race, I had the epiphany. And that so far has applied to almost everything I've done to run my agency. And just to give you a little background on an agency, since we are at the ARC conference, so you understand, we are a human services provider that does waiver services. The old days it was DD and ID. Now we just have the waiver, or the 3 waivers. We do everything from group homes to sponsored residential to day program to in-home, therapeutic consultation, up and down the Eastern Shore, Lynchburg, Danville, and all over Hampton Roads area. So we've been doing it since 1994, been around a long time. It's a family business. And my mom started it. She unfortunately passed away of ovarian cancer back in 2005, and then I took over from then. Maggie remembers that. She was there right there next to me. So what happened was in adventure racing, I started getting into adventure racing, and I really realized so much of adventure racing I wish I knew back when I started this company. Because adventure racing makes you think outside the box, and I mean really, really outside the box. So let me give you an example on this shoes dry fast. This was my first big epiphany. I realized adventure racing was going to be the sport of my future. So I'm on this hill. We'd been going, I guess we did the paddle section for 4 or 5 hours. We hiked up this huge ridge line, and we're coming down the other side of the ridge line, and we hit a big stream. And I'm talking like rushing water, I'd say anywhere from knee to waist deep, flowing down the river, right? There's a checkpoint way down here to the right, let's say a kilometer. It's going to take me a while to get to that. And way down here to the left, there's a bridge. On the other side of the river is my bike. And our goal is trying to get to the bikes as quick as we can. It's getting dark, and we know we're going to have to ride the bikes all night long. And so we decided that it was going to take too long to get to the checkpoint and go all the way down to the bridge, cross the bridge, and come back to the bikes, get on the bikes, and go. So we gave up the checkpoint, went down to the bridge, crossed, got on the bikes, and left. Everything's normal. Basically stayed on the trail, did everything, navigated well. Well, we get to the end of the race, and one of the, up there you can't, NYRA athlete, NYRA is New York Adventure Racing Association. So this 6'3", just ripped top to bottom, Adonis walks up. This guy is like one of the winners every single time, okay? I'm talking like Olympian. So this guy walks up and he's like, hey guys, he could tell we're new because we look like total dorks. And he's like, how'd your race go? You know, tell me about how'd it go, all that kind of stuff. Same thing we would do to each other, you know, when we've been through something. And we told him what we were doing and da-da-da-da-da. And he says, why in the world didn't you go get the checkpoint? It was right there. You went right by it. I was like, well, you know, it was way down there. We had to go back down to the bridge and across the river. And he's like, what do you mean? You could have just done that, crossed the river, and went to your bike. It's right there. Why in the world would you miss it? And we were like thinking like, yeah, but our shoes would have gotten wet. And he was like, dude, shoes dry fast. And it was like, boom, there's the epiphany. We're on this race for 24 hours. It was surprising our shoes weren't already wet. We could have just got the checkpoint, crossed the river, and we're there at our bikes and we're moving on. Meanwhile, we think we have to stay on the trail. We have to avoid puddles, right? At the end of the day, life gives us these things. Life gives us the trail. Life gives us things you shouldn't do. And a lot of times they're not real. These are things that kind of society has taught us, and we're like, inside the box is the key thing. I didn't realize on every other race, like in a marathon or a bike race or a 5K, you're supposed to follow the lines, follow the cones. Get to the water, run to the end, get your medal, drink a beer, eat a banana, whatever, right? That's what we do. In adventure racing, there are no rules unless there are rules, okay? Now think about that. There are no rules in adventure racing unless there are rules. If the race director says you are not allowed to go on that main road, then don't do it. But if they didn't say it, do it. or if it's in your advantage, right? If DMAS tells you do not bill group day if you've got a 1-to-4 ratio, don't do it, right? You're breaking the law. You are billing Medicaid outside of the regulation. There are rules, but if there's no rules, don't make stuff up. Exactly. Our companies make stuff up. We say, well, back in the old days, we were told we can only do this and that. At the end of the day, you have to refresh your brain every single time you're coming up against something and realize in life, as in adventure racing, there are no rules unless there are rules. So it's very important you train yourself and everybody that works with you. What are the real rules? Go back to basics. Elon Musk calls them first principles. That you take everything back down to physics and law, and you start back from there. And I think, and I'm going to give you an example here in a second on how does that really like manifest itself in a company. See if I can get my little thingy to work here. Okay, so let me see if I can get this video to start for you. Is there sound? Can't see it. Okay, oop, let me pause it. Okay, you see that yellow thing right up there at the top? Let me see if I can get this laser. See that? Basically, this is just a big swamp, right? I said knee-deep in mud and loving life. Like, so we go through these swamps, right? So I was helping this guy vet this course. And I swear, I'm going to bring this back around, back to business, okay, Meg? Okay, so we're helping him set up this adventure racing course. And he's got this flag right there. And we've got to cross this muck. But we know the race director. We're used to this. He's going to put us through the mud, choose drive fast. We'll get over it. So this is just an example of what you go through in adventure racing. I'll watch the remainder of this. So, so we take this seriously, okay? We find out, you know what? Mud is not that bad. Water in swamps is not that bad. When you're hot and you've been through all the spider webs, you get in the water, it feels so good, and your knees are sore from running for a long time, and you get in the water. Everything about that scene, you would normally think you don't want to be near it. There's bugs, there's snakes, and there's all of this bad stuff. No, thank you, Max. I'm good. But meanwhile, we're out here having the time of our lives in the mud. All right, let's get to business here for a second. How many people in here are providers where you deal with like staffing and employees and stuff like that? I've got a handful in here. Good. Okay. Probably almost every agency in the world deals with overtime, right? It's one of the big things we deal with. Medicaid pays some really mediocre rates on all of the services, and we can kind of get by, and then the second somebody goes into overtime, you're losing money, basically. So all agencies have to limit overtime to as much as they can, or they won't survive. So we were kind of thinking back in the day, how do we combat overtime? How do we adapt this company so that we can manage overtime to where we can continue to operate and not have trouble, okay? So for everybody who doesn't know, overtime, just for the sake of this slide, $10 an hour, let's say, is the regular rate, just round numbers so we can do math. Overtime is when they get over 40 hours in 1 week, we are by law mandated to pay $15 an hour. That's an extra $5 per hour the minute you go over that 40 hour. So $5 an hour is a lot of money when the Medicaid rate doesn't go up any. Okay? Medicaid doesn't say, oh, you're in overtime, we're going to pay you more. No, they gave you the rate based on regular hours, not overtime. So agencies have to come up with creative ways to fight that. How many people in the room, if you have a job, your paycheck is based on a Monday to Sunday work week? Monday to Sunday? Anybody else? Monday, where your work week starts on Monday? Monday through Friday, yep. A lot of people, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. That's the typical American work week, right? Looks a lot like that. Pay period starts on a Monday. Usually it's a 2-week pay period, ends on a Sunday. You work 5 days. Yeah, most of us work 5 days. Some people work on the weekends, that kind of thing. But either way, if you go over 40 hours in any 1 week, it becomes overtime. So we were thinking, and way back in SSVA, my stepdad, who I was a horrific child, as you can imagine, because I'm playing in the mud all day. So at this point, I'm the president and CEO, and my stepdad's in charge of the fiscal office, right? He's the guy with the paycheck, he's got the checkbook, right? And I run this idea by him. I say, hey, Paul, I got this weird idea. Why don't we change our pay period to start on Thursday, go through the weekend, and then end on Wednesday? And he was like, why the hell would you want to do that? That's crazy talk. Why? And I said, well, it's because on Thursday, Friday, you're going into the weekend, and nobody's into overtime. You're just starting your work week. And then you get out of the weekend, and you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to play around with the schedule and try to get overtime back under control, right? It gives the agency a lot of benefit. Because guess what happens on Friday at 4 o'clock in a lot of companies, right? Time to go. I'm going to go out. My weekend just started. Meanwhile, the place is running amok, and overtime's getting up, schedules, everybody's calling in, calling off, whatever you want to call it. So I realized all the admins are there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They're back to work. They're done with their weekend. They're back, and now they can really focus. So that's an example of there are no rules unless there are rules. And there's no rule that says you can't do whatever you want with your pay period. Every company in this room could change their pay period to this. It's a little bit of a hassle when you first do it because you have to kind of front load the employees with 3 days pay, but you do it one time and you stay like that forever. It literally, in a company our size, right now we got 225 employees or so. We were running around between 11 and 12, probably 10 to 12% overtime. Total payroll is like $4 million or something because we do a lot of sponsors too. We cut that down to where we can pretty much keep overtime below 6%, if not down into the 4 range. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars freed up, allows us to give raises, get better vehicles, all kinds of stuff. So if you're an agency, this is one takeaway that will save your company a ton of money over the future. Let's go to the next kind of adventure racing epiphany that I had. That not many folks, and neither did I, know how to use a compass, right? My first adventure race, I have a compass, and I know it's supposed to be pointing north. And other than that, I have no idea. Neither did my buddy. We're going into a 24-hour adventure race. I had no idea what I'm going to do. So, of course, we were all over the map, literally, like the map. So if you look at the very bottom in the middle here, kind of hard to see, there's the star. That's the actual North Pole, which is theoretically north. And then there's this thing here that says MN, and it's a little bit to the left. That's called magnetic north. See, the North Pole and what the compass points at are two different things, right? Mother Nature has a weird way of really messing with you. And when you get into adventure racing, let me tell you, Mother Nature is, she's funny. She will play some games. So what we really quickly realized is if we're looking at the map and the map does not line up with what the compass does. So you have to get used to this thing called declination, which is the amount that the compass pulls to in Virginia, it pulls to the left. So you'll see adventure racers, we're running around with compasses everywhere. Like sometimes we have one hanging around our neck. Sometimes it's on my wrist. I love to wear one on my wrist because when I'm riding the bike really fast, I can just quickly look and take a bearing and keep going. All kinds of different compasses. Some like in the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts used to lift it up and have a little magnifying glass and look really far out. And we don't do that too much in adventure racing because usually we're going too fast. But either way, compass is probably the most valuable tool in adventure racing, and it has its role in our agencies. And so I'm going to get into that with you real quick. If you see the map, starting at the North Pole, there's lines that kind of curve out, okay? On the Virginia side, it's red, and on the California side, it's blue. Those are actually, that's what your compass would point at if you're in that area. So if you're, let me take for example, let's say this laptop is, let's say this is DMAS. And let's say the screen back here is DBHDS, okay? So you like that? Our favorite, right? DMAS and DBHDS, okay? If you're way over here in Virginia, your compass is going to pull to the left 10 degrees, just like it says on that map earlier. So DMAS, your compass is pointing at DMAS, but DBHDS is true north, right? And then you're way over here. We did a 3.5-day adventure race in Bend, Oregon. 3.5 days, and my compass is now pulling to the right 15 degrees. It was pulling to the left in Virginia. That's my training. His compass is always pulling to the left. Whoop, now it's to the right. So now my compass is pulling to the right to DMAS, and DBHDS is on this side. So this is California, Bend, Oregon, and the more you move out, the more it gets curved. All the way down here, like in Hawaii, I guess, this line curves all the way down here. Basically, north is pointing to Mexico. Like, it's weird. Like, Mother Nature's really, really weird. So, how this relates to you. During this conference, we're going to listen to a lot of different people talk, right? We're going to listen to DMAS maybe. Sometimes they get to speak. A lot of times you'll see DBHDS. I saw Heather Norton here. She's probably going to talk about community engagement and group day and things like that. You're also going to meet a lot of individuals who want stuff. They deserve a life in the community. They got out of an institution. They've been locked up against their will for no reason other than a disability. And when they come out of the community, they want stuff like, look, I want a life like yours, and I'm going to take it. You know what I'm saying? They deserve it. We have done these guys an atrocity way, way back, right? So we have a lot of individuals here today that have lived that life in the institutional setting. Also, we have a lot of families at the Ark. Families want something different than the individual that they love, right? Moms don't like their daughters to go dating. The daughter wants to go dating, you know? These are all things that we as caregivers, we as employees, we as service providers have to figure out. That's why the true north versus the compass north. We need to know the difference. We need to know what are the motivations behind each person? Why are they here? What is their mentality? Where are they coming from? And then relate that to true north, the regulation, the things you have to do, right? The regulation, the billing, the human rights, the licensing. These are like lines that you can't cross. Even though the customer's wanting something over here a little bit, as long as it's not against the law, try to do it. Why not? There's no rule. Licensing, yes, they make some rules, but they don't say you can't do everything. Licensing is just a health safety standard. You can do all kinds of really cool stuff above that standard. It's a matter of thinking outside the box. Don't let your agency get so rule-oriented that you can't date. No dating. No boys, right? Agencies do that because it's like, health safety. No, it's not health safety. They have a right to dignity of risk, and dating is risky, right? So just wanted to kind of blend that with you. Okay, so next up. I'm sure all agencies, every company, probably day sport, group home, everything, you have to come up with kind of like maybe long-term goals, short-term goals, little things. Like you always, especially in our field, you always have to be moving forward, learning something, experiencing something new. Well, in companies, we're supposed to do long-term planning, right? We're supposed to get together and come up with a 5-year plan of where do we want to go in the future. Do we want to grow? Do we want to open a day support in Halifax, Virginia, because I heard they need one? That type of thing goes through a company's mind. You have to make a decision, are you going to do that or not? It's like, wow, I got a party back there. So companies do this. They're supposed to do it, right? We do about a mediocre thing of doing it. We don't have like big 5-year goal. We got a lot of short-term stuff that we do. It could be anything from technology. There's all kinds of stuff that we have to do. So what I realized, me as a CEO, as an owner, I have a really hard time at work doing these long-term planning things. But what's cool about adventure racing is I don't have a choice. I can blow it off at work because it's kind of boring. Let's double the size of the company in 5 years. Like, who cares? Like, okay, so we're bigger, now what? Adventure racing, as you can see, I'm on the side of my van here. I got this map. And I literally have like 2 hours to go over a map. And I'm going to be going over, probably 100 miles of backcountry navigation. And I need to know this part's on the bike, and this part's on foot, and this part's on paddle. And if I spend too much time on this section, I'm not going to make the cutoff for this section. You have to have a long-term plan. You have to have little short-term plans for each section. And then within each section, there's a certain number of checkpoints. There might be 20. Some checkpoints are really far away, and they're going to take a lot of time. Some are clustered together. You don't have time. A lot of times you don't have time for all of them. Like, I'm a weekend warrior. I don't run fast. I don't bike fast. I won't give up, but I'm not as fast as Naira. Those guys are fast, and ladies. So I have to figure out what little things am I going to give up, and what little areas do I think I can get a lot of checkpoints. But if anything goes wrong during that section, I've got to go ahead and say, I got to cut those points out. I got to get to the bike section by this time because that's my plan, that's my strategy. What if in life we actually did that ourselves? What if we really had a long-term, medium-term, short-term, we held ourselves to those? And we would all have retirement plans. We would go on vacation a couple times a year, everything. All kinds of, you are capable of so much more than you think. And I just got into adventure racing like 3 or 4 years ago. Meanwhile, now I'm doing 4-day expedition races in the World Series in Belize jungles. This is like, what? Like 4 days with 4 hours of sleep, you're supposed to die, right? No, you don't die. It's, you get tired and you start hallucinating, but other than that, it's pretty fun. So The way that I learned this from a thing called a 3 to 5 club. It's a business group that I'm in, and they basically make us come up with a 2-page business plan. What do you want to get out of it? What do you want your company to do? And break it down into steps. And we have to revisit it every single month. We talk about it. They even make you come up with a business maturity date. So mine was like, I want to get in my cargo van and drive all the way to Moab, Utah, and mountain bike and rock climb and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not going to answer the cell phone or email. Ha! And I thought I was crazy talk. Like, this will never, ever happen. And sure enough, because I came up with a long-term goal, short-term, and the short-term, medium-term goals, and little steps I needed to do. Sure enough, I'm in my creepy cargo van driving over to Moab, and we went mountain biking, and we came back, and the company was still there. Customers were still served. Everything was still running. You can't just do that. You can't just go, I want a retirement, and then boom, there it is. You have to start. You have to say, okay, every day I'm going to put some money aside, blah, 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 and then magically a retirement shows up. So here's the big thing that 3 to 5 Club did for me, and it also happens in adventure racing. You have to put your plan in front of you. You can't just come up with a 5-year plan and then put it in a drawer and file it away. You got to keep it in front of you. So in adventure racing, we run around. That's my mountain bike, and I've got a map board. And so we have the map. That's actually the Buff Betty map, too. I'm sure you can recognize it by now. So you put the map on your bike, so as you're riding, you can see the trail, and you can check your compass, and you know you're on the right trail. You know you're getting close to the checkpoints. Usually the maps are about this big. You have to fold them up and stick them back on the bike. And it's hilarious because nobody else other than adventure racers use a map board. So I'm like in the Mountain Bike Club, Mountain Bike Association of Virginia, and I'm riding with this thing, and they're like, what the hell is that? Like, is that a laptop? Or can't you put Facebook down for 5 minutes and race? I'm like, no, it's my map board. Very, very different way of looking at life. So this is a map case that we use. This is a race. This was a 24-hour race. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute because I got a bruised up finger from it. This is a 24-hour orienteering race. This little bag, we usually have them here, kind of like a horse eating pouch kind of thing. So as we're running through the woods, we have our little map here so I can check my map and see where I'm going. Right. Now we would look kind of funny at our companies with our 5-year goal, so you can check it real quick. So I'm not suggesting to put this and hang this around your neck. But in adventure racing, everybody's got their map around their neck, and when it's on the bike, it's on the front of the bike. You never go anywhere without your map. If you ever go to an orienteering course, you'll see people, they call it thumbing the map, where I'm following along the trail, and I'm having my thumb on the map, so that every trail I'm on, I can see exactly where I am. I'm running through the woods. I'm avoiding the snakes, the spiders, the bugs, the bears, everything, and I don't get lost. I keep my thumb on it. So the reason I'm telling you this is we get distracted by all kinds of stuff. We're going to hear all kinds of crazy buzzwords while we're here at the conference. They talked a lot about inclusion in the earlier session. But at the end of the day, you personally, your agency, it would be nice to have a strategy, a long-term, short-term, so that you can meet these bigger goals of full community inclusion in our group home program or community engagement program, that type of thing. So it's easy, though, to be overwhelmed by all of the, throw my map back down here. It's easy to be overwhelmed. You guys are going to, especially, we're in the first day of a 3-day conference. You're going to go to a lot of different sessions. You're going to hear a lot of different buzzwords. If you're new to our field, they're going to be very confusing. At the end of the day, though, hopefully at the end of all the sessions, now remember, I'm a provider, right? So we deal with a lot of DSPs. I realize there are some natural supports and natural caregivers. So even though it says DSP, direct support professional, it's basically caregivers. Quality occurs at the interaction between the DSP and the customer. All of the back office stuff, all of the licensing, the human rights, the managed care, the buzzwords, the person-centered ISP, all of it is absolute crap if the interaction between the service provider and the customer is not high quality. Okay? I mean, I love all this. I love the regulations, and I love all the rules and stuff. But please, after all of these buzzwords, that is one of the main things that we have to keep in mind. So the two fellas in this photo, remember, shoes dry fast, right? So now I'm not scared to walk across rivers and streams. So this is Paul and Jeremy. They and the team captain, Michelle, asked me to be on their racing team. It's a professional racing company. They run their races themselves. This is the owner of the people who did the Buff Betty. Well, she's putting together a team for a World Series race in Bend, Oregon. Now I'm getting a little over my head, right? So I'm normally racing solo. I race with my own team. Andrea and I do a lot of races together, and it's like it's hard, but it's not like intimidating. When you get asked by a professional race director that she wants you on your team, like you got to step it up, right? This is no joke. This is a World Series champion. Sorry about that. So I'm kind of nervous, right? So we're up here in, this is actually up in Stokesville, Virginia. We're running around through the woods with these guys and ladies. I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to do my part with the navigation, and we're kind of getting to know each other, right? We're training because we're going to go do this 3.5-day thing that's really dangerous. And so we're out there. It's raining the whole time. It's a little bit cold, and it's starting to get dark. And I remember at this point they call me, they call it punch monkey, is the person who's got to run to the CP and punch the checkpoint. And so at this point I'm punch monkey. So I'm kind of running up ahead a little bit and going kind of fast. And I slip on the rocks. And which is a big deal. I fall all the time, but this time I slipped and fell. And I slipped on another rock, and my hand jams in to another rock, and I stand up, and I'm like, holy crap, my finger's broken. Bam. So this is my middle finger is much larger than it used to be. So this happens 10 hours. This was in early May. 10 hours into a 24-hour adventure race. And I'm looking at my finger, and it's dislocated and broken. You can see a chip there. And they're like, oh, and I'm trying to do stuff with it. It hurts like crazy. And they said, okay, I guess we got to go back. And I was like, why? I was like, I think if I just hold it, we'll be good. And they're like, that looks bad. That looks real bad. And they know we got 14 more hours overnight in the woods, in the rain, going up more and more of this rocks. And I couldn't do it. I'm here with this team. We came to train. We're going to Bend, Oregon. Finger, no finger, I'll chop it off. I will not give up until I have to. And so I kept going. We fought through that race. We ended up third place overall in that, and it hurt, as you would imagine, having a finger dislocated. But I would not give up. And so what I want to get into for a second is like, what's the key to motivation? How do we get our staff not to give up and not let each other down? But first, I got to tell you this fun story, and then we'll get into that, because I still got 30 minutes. We can play for a second. So I go to they pop it back in place at the dock in the box, right? And then they say, you need to go to a hand surgeon. Of course, you got to go to a hand surgeon because everything's all messed up in your finger, right? So go to the hand surgeon. She's like, oh, like, what do you do for a living again? Like, you don't use your hands or anything, do you? She's looking at this thing. I was like, nah, I'll be fine. It kind of still hurts, but whatever. So she looks at it. She says, okay, here's my plan. I'll get your finger as good as we can get it. No matter what, it's going to hurt. And it'll never be the same again. But, okay, so what you got to do is you got to hold your hand up, and you keep it above your heart. You put ice on it every 15 minutes, and you don't do anything with it. I mean, not even sign your name for a month. I'm supposed to do this, and somehow put ice off and on it. And I'm like, no, this is, okay. And then I said, but I got this thing. I got this adventure race I've got to do in about 3 weeks. And she goes, what's an adventure race? And I told her the same stuff, and she's like, absolutely not. You're not doing this adventure race. Call it off. You're not even going to get on the airplane to go there, because going up in the airplane will cause pressure, and it's already swollen, and it's going to get worse if you go on the airplane. So just call it off. I said, you don't understand. I got to go to this race. I mean, I just went through 14 hours of carrying the stupid finger around, going to the race. She said, no. She said, what if, and she said, we argue about this all the time. 2,000 hand surgeons are in the crowd. We put up people's x-rays like yours, and we ask, like, what's the prognosis, right? And she said, how many of those 2,000 surgeons do you think would tell you you're ready to do a 3.5-day adventure race, mountain biking, paddling, all of this stuff, whitewater, in 3.5 weeks? And I said, probably none. But I say, what if I had 2,000 adventure racers in the room? And I show them my x-ray. What would they say, right? And guess what? You go to the place to get all knowledge, right? Facebook. You want to know what's going on in life? Ask your buddies on Facebook. They will tell you the truth, okay? So let me read some of this, okay? Awesome job on the race. You definitely have your priorities straight, okay? It's rugby. Wait, it's what rugby players. No, this is Ruth Ann Kennedy. She might even be here in the crowd. It's what rugby players do. They tape it to the next finger, right? Drew's finger looks worse. Ruth was right. Just push it back in place, tape it up. All is well. Dana, you don't need that finger for anything. I say cut it off. It's only in the way now. Duct tape. And then Kyle Bonda says, no more precious, which is the Lord of the Rings guy when he cut his finger off. So all the adventure racing team was like, suck it up, Buttercup. You got a race to do, you know? So not just that experience, but in the planning that we were doing as a company, we realized the qualities in the interaction between the DSP and the customer. So at the end of the day, if we focus absolutely everything on that one thing, all other things will solve themselves, right? Doesn't matter about the billing and all the regulatory stuff we deal with. We realize if we focus on that one thing as an agency focus across the board, I believe it's going to take the company to where we want to be. So, and this was a couple years ago. We changed they call it a BHAG in business, big, hairy, audacious goal. This is like a 10-year goal out there. And I was in this like learning workshop, and they made us come up with our BHAG, and I really didn't know. And then I had that epiphany. It's all about the staff. It's the interaction. It's the caregiver. So I came up with the BHAG. I want to be the most sought-after provider to work for in the state of Virginia. How can I get every single person who wants to support somebody with a disability to say, I want to work with SSVA first? All the other companies are okay. But that's the Google. That's the place everybody wants to work. The Amazon, the Facebook, right? So so once we did that, now it's like every decision we make, I put it through the lens of how is this helping me reach my BHAG? And it changes the way you make decisions when you have a crystal clear focus on those BHAGs. So the other thing we did, we took our mission statement that used to be like, oh, we're going to be a provider, included day support, community, blah, 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 all the licensing mumbo jumbo. Nobody could remember, right? So we decided, let's just change it to a single sentence. Realize success by helping others realize theirs. The cool thing about that is it can be used in a lot of different things. It's not just a DSP working with the customer, where the DSP realizes their success by helping the customer realize theirs, but it's us as a company. If we can help our DSPs realize their success, then the company does well, right? So it just climbs up and up and up. Everybody can be successful if we just try to identify somebody else that we can help them realize their success. And that also refocused the company, where we can say, now we know what we want to do. It's about people helping people, and everybody is successful when that occurs. So then we had to come up with our one-sentence strategy, right? These are all business stuff, but I took it seriously, and I realized, like, what's the one sentence that if we all focus on that one sentence, kind of like this is more strategic, then what would that one sentence be? So I hemmed and hawed about it, and I've argued about it a little bit. At the end of the day, we decided to say, be ready when the call comes. So is anybody here that works at a CSB? Okay, we got a couple CSB people. Awesome. Guess who gets the call at 4 o'clock on a Friday when that guy's dropped off on your doorstep, right? We realized CSBs, it's not like Tuesday at 10 o'clock is when the referrals come. For whatever reason, it's after hours, it's 5 o'clock on Friday, everybody wants to be leaving, and the CSB calls and says, Chip, we got a problem. We got this guy in Reach won't keep him anymore, he's got to have a place to go, the provider's being a ding-a-ling, and they won't, this guy is dropped. And everybody at the CSB wants to be clocked out and going home for the weekend too, you know? And if my company can be ready when that call comes, we have staff that are motivated, we have a house with a vacancy, we've got people that can pump out an ISP and fight with WAMs and get that thing through on time, then we can get that guy out of crisis and get him into a home where people care about him and he can have a good weekend that weekend. Be ready when the call comes. Another way I use that sentence, when a person's looking for a job and they call our company, what if they are the most wonderful staff person, you would love to have them working with you, but sorry, it's 4 o'clock on Friday, I can't really talk right now, can you call back Monday? They've got a job over the weekend, right? They need a job now. Be ready when the call, when that unicorn staff person that really is trying to find a job to give back to somebody else, if we can take that call and we can tell them how excited we are about our services and about the people we support and how you can make a positive impact on people's lives, they might stop their job search and come work for us. It's a long story I can't get into, but in 2010, 2011 timeframe, there was a provider that was going out of business. They weren't going to make payroll. They had 75 employees at the time. And they called and said, Chip, we've tried a bunch of other people and nobody's helping and we could really use your help. Because if we need to figure something out because basically we're going to bounce the paychecks. This was leading into Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I was not ready when that call came. I mean, it almost sunk our company trying to do this acquisition and save the day. But at the end of the day, we did it. 75 people got to go and have Christmas with a paycheck. About 25 customers didn't have to leave their day sport. They didn't have to move out of their group home. They didn't have to get pushed into the CSB system and be sloshed around. And when I went out there and met the customers there, and I looked them in the face, and I was like, I am the only guy in Virginia that's willing to help. Or I mean, at the time, I was still like wondering, but I knew that if I did not do something, personally do something, make this decision, that I just can't imagine what it was going to be like. So Kendra and Doug are here today. So yay, Danville. So now it's a bright and shining part of our company, and they're up and running and smiling faces, and I'm always very proud to go there and see all the success that they did. We weren't ready when the call came, but by golly, the next time that call comes, I want to be ready. Because especially as this field moves over to managed care and value-based reimbursement and all of these care coordination, some providers aren't going to make it. Some providers are going to need help. The providers that have the business acumen, the savviness, need to understand that they're going to need to have lifeboats available. They need it quick. They need it on the weekends. They need it on Friday at 4 o'clock. So be ready when the call comes. So all the strategy and stuff we do in adventure racing, the same thing can happen in your company. And you can see how I took you through all of these things. So now the company, every decision I make, and I try to mention this stuff as much as I can. A lot of them are here. They've heard it here and there. They don't realize that for me this is real. This is like how I make decisions, is going through these three things. So this was one of my favorite faces I think I've ever seen ever. 4.5 days, we end this Belize adventure race, and we have been through hell. Just hell. I mean, it was hard, and we had just gotten off this whitewater paddle section that absolutely slapped us around worse than I'd ever been slapped. I literally thought, like, we're going to die going down these rapids. Like, this is real. It's not a game anymore. And so the race ended. I look at quitting as a choice a lot of times. I don't give myself the option to choose to quit. I don't mind. Like, maybe if I broke my femur, I would have to quit. Like, that's not really my choice because I can't walk. Broken finger, finger, that's not a necessary part of the human body. And when the race is over, you're allowed to quit. At some point, there's a cutoff. They say, okay, Chip, no, we're going home. You can run around the woods all you want, but, you know. So we had gone in Belize all the way until the last minute. We didn't make it to the finish line, but boy, at 5 o'clock, I punched that last card. Actually, Andrea punched the last card. And whew, now the race is over. We can stop. But we would not stop until the very end, and this guy picked us up. We are so tired. 4 hours over 4 days. So I use this slide as he was the most friendly guy in the whole world. Gave us a cocktail at his place afterward, which, whoo, after 4 days of racing and no sleep, it was, whew. Okay, so, okay, all of the strategy stuff, all of the strategy stuff, how did this manifest itself in the company? So let me give you some examples. We looked at this and said, normal HR folks, if what you want to do is attract and retain the highest quality, motivated, amazing DSPs in our complete field, how do you get them? How do you find them? We realize HR people are kind of wired not for sales. They're wired like, compliance. So what we did is we hired a marketing firm. And I said, hey, I got this idea. Instead of selling widgets like whatever, I want to sell careers to people. And they're like, huh? That sounds like recruitment. We don't do recruitment. No, it's sales. It's like, we got this really cool thing. We're going to change people's lives, make a lasting impact difference. This is amazing. I need you to go and find people who they care, okay? They care. And sell this company to them because I want to be the most sought after provider to work for, and you guys are going to make it happen. Argued. Eventually they said, you do need somebody internal to your company. You can't have a marketing firm do everything. You have to have somebody kind of turning the wrenches inside the company. So we hired an internal person that's like a marketing position, somebody with a 4-year degree, ODU. You can meet her out there at the table, named Quayshana. We said, okay, your job, instead of marketing normal stuff, we want to attract and retain the highest level of employees. We're looking at morale, company events, all this kind of stuff. Very odd coming out of ODU and they go, you want me to do what? Like, this is weird. But we took it that seriously. We have a company and an internal position that we did after coming up with that strategy. And then we also started tracking a lot of metrics. Like, why do people leave? When they leave, why do they leave? Where do they come from? Are they using mobile? Are they using PC? Are they Mac or Android? And Just all kinds of stuff. If they leave, why did they leave? Did they get fired? Did they quit? Did they want more money? Or whatever. Like, why? You keep asking all these questions. So we put together a dashboard, kind of track it week to week. The next thing we did, we came up with like, okay, so pick your top 20 super DSPs. What are their characteristics? Maybe there's some commonalities. Because, marketing people are some creepy people. I mean, don't tell Quayshawn. She's not in the room, I don't think. Hey, they're creepy. Like, they track you, and they know what you're doing, and you click on stuff, and, they know. So all they need to do is they need a target. They can market to anybody, right? They just need, okay, well, who do you want us to market to? So we went through and said, demographically, what are they like? Are they females? Are they males? Do they have kids or no kids? Do they have a lot of education or not? Or are they 20 years old? Are they 50 years old? Are they boomers versus millennials? All this stuff. When you look at your top DSPs company-wide, are there any of those commonalities? So we narrowed it down, and we'd come up. So I highly suggest you guys do this if you're involved in hiring or even promoting, is come up with those characteristics of who are the ones that are doing it really well, and just objectively. I love Sally Joe. No. Sally Joe is this age. She came from here. Like, maybe she has a loved one with a disability. That's one that flags very high. People who have a loved one with a disability are more attracted to our field than ones who are not. So when the creepy marketing people go do their thing, they can go on Facebook and go, maybe the people that are on the Down Syndrome Association website or the Autism Association website, maybe we can target their users and put an ad in front of them. Because they might be the best DSPs possible versus putting an ad in a newspaper and getting whatever bottom of the barrel people were just got fired yesterday. So highly suggest doing that. It was really eye-opening when you actually look at the data. So then you've got to come up with, okay, so we got the perfect DSP. Now, how are we going to sell them on the company? So the stuff you're seeing up here, competitive pay, health insurance, dental insurance, life insurance, 401k, leave, holiday pay, blah, 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 blah. This is the same stuff. This is like a rite of passage. You don't have health insurance. People who want a career are like, nah, never mind. I want to get to a company that has health insurance, dental insurance. You got some young invincibles. They don't think they ever need to go to a doctor, like me. But a lot of people go access health care for some reason, and they don't want to pay a lot. And out-of-pocket ER stuff is not good. So this is like a rite of passage. If you don't have those things, and we don't have a 401k because the government made it really, really hard, but it's one of the things I'm really trying to do because having a retirement plan, like Ruth was saying, is very important. But either way, these are some cool things. But this is not motivating to the unicorn staff that you're really trying to attract. So let's look at the next thing. What's really important to the people who you want to attract? The top three here came from a friend of mine who owns a company with about 550 employees, and he did a survey, and he did kind of similar work that we do. He does senior care. So they have their DSPs do about the same thing we do. It's not all this waiver stuff. It's private pay. But either way, these are human beings taking care of human beings, passing meds, transportation, trying to give them the best absolute life possible with seniors. The top three things in his survey of what was important to them was open communication, top to bottom, side to side, flexibility of schedule. They wanted some knowledge. When do I work? And when I need a day off, I can get it. Because a lot of people who are caregivers also have family that need help, either kids or moms, dads, etc. Maybe they have a loved one with a disability. They want flexibility of schedule. That's very important to them. Autonomy. That's one I didn't think, to me that didn't seem intuitive. How does a DSP want autonomy? Maybe they want to be able to be trained to make their own decisions and not have a supervisor constantly pestering them and telling them what to do and micromanaging. They want to say, look, introduce me to Maggie, tell me what Maggie likes, and I'm going to take Maggie out in the community, I'm going to give her the most amazing life possible. Right? That's what the DSP wants. Just give me a car and some general guidance on Maggie, and we're going to go have an awesome time. Right? Doesn't that sound like fun? Right? Right. Okay. So, next up, recognition. And this to me is like also, I'm not a recognition person, so I have to like force myself to remember that it's important to most people. But it's like, even over money. I mean, I'm thinking, oh, if they got a bonus, they would like do better and stuff. No, if you just put people on a ranking of like, these people are awesome and these aren't, holy crap, they are motivated to get to the top of that because nobody will looks bad in front of your friends, right? So recognition, and I don't mean like put people on the bus list, but recognizing amazing people doing amazing things. How this kind of manifested with us, we have an impression system. So if you do one of the core values, one of your peers could kind of call you out on it and write a little story about you and put it into our payroll software. And then each division gets to vote on each other division on which story was the most amazing. And we all kind of put them in the newsletter and celebrate those winners. And at the end of the year, we have people that are like, they're the overall company-wide winner. Well, top 2 and 3, and I think the top, it's $500, $400, and $300, or something like that, and they get to go to an experience. We don't want to hand them the cash because they'll just like go, I don't know, pay bills or something. That's boring. We wanted them to have something amazing in their life. Like, I want to go to the Rolling Stones concert, or I want to go on a cruise, I want to go to Disney World, and I can't afford it. But if I win this thing, I can take that 500 and put it towards this thing that I would never have been able to do. And when I have that experience, I'll say, wow, isn't SSVA swell? Yes, ma'am.
I got a question.
Okay.
It's about, like you were saying about the concert.
Yep.
Guess who I went to see last year?
Who'd you go see?
Janet Jackson.
Janet Jackson, absolutely. So Janet Jackson is a great example of a concert. And we had a bunch of our employees went. It was really, really cool. And customers.
I thought I would mention that since you
No,
said.
I appreciate it. I forgot that she had just come here. So next up, social interaction with like-minded colleagues. A lot of times we go to work for the socialness of being at work with people who are also passionate about what we're passionate about. In your agency, in your day support, in your group home, wherever you work in our field, try to facilitate that. Like, we're not just here to do a job. Like, especially like with in-home staff, they're out one-to-one with a customer, but they don't necessarily get to hang out with the company. So try to do company events that are not designed just for admin or the mid-level, but do company events that are really fun. So the DSP that normally doesn't get a lot of interaction with their peers can come and have fun and just be a human being together. Danville, we went to their pool party. I drove out there for that. And you have all these DSPs all kind of wandering around, having a great time with the customers, having a blast. I was talking to one lady, she just started working for us. I don't even think she knew who I was. And I'm like, hey, how do you like it? And she's like, yeah, it's kind of neat. I'm kind of still learning. And I was like, I'm just there in board shorts and a t-shirt, you know? It was just fun. Like, everybody's just there together enjoying each other's company. Positive leadership, of course. A lot of people don't quit their job. They quit their supervisor. So if you have mean supervisors, you're going to run off the unicorns. So when people leave, be sure to ask why. Because sometimes if you see a lot of people leaving out of one program, it's not the people that's the problem. It's the manager that's the problem. It's the supervisor. They're being mean, authoritative, a dictator. Maybe they lie. Maybe they don't have good character. Maybe they're a bully. Hear those words a lot. Those people run off your A players. The people that are really there to make a difference in your company, you can have a little, it's like a terrorist inside your organization, and they spread just not the positive stuff you want to spread. So it's important when you do find a bully, do your best to try to help them find a job where being a bully is a benefited skill. Like maybe, I almost said the wrong thing. Maybe a correctional facility, okay? You know, let's say that. I wouldn't mention any institutions or anything. So path to leadership. It's important that with your unicorn staff, unicorn DSP, unicorn caregiver, find out if they want to move up in our field. Many people who are everywhere from case management to the financial office to the operations department to HR, they came in as a DSP and they moved their way up into their current position. If you as a company don't have a way to teach or have a path to leadership that's clear, you have training, if you want to be the next level, here are the skills you need to move up. We're trying to blend that language into as many things as possible. Because what I want to do is not only attract the DSP that's amazing, but I also want to attract the next leader of DSPs that's amazing. The person that really gets it. I think we're all, there's a labor shortage in the United States, and my gosh, Virginia Beach and Norfolk are really bad because we got a lot of big employers that pay a lot of good money and we can't compete. So it's really, really important that you have good management. And the last but not least is making a significant and positive and lasting difference on someone's life. That's what we can do that no other companies in our field, yes. But right across the street is ADP, right? They're a payroll processor. They pay a lot better wages than DSPs get paid. They sit in a cube and they sell people crap, or they're hopefully nobody here works at ADP. They're a help desk, right? They're an in-country help desk, and like, oh, my payroll software didn't work. Oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you rebooted your computer? Blah, 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 blah. they're not making a lasting, significant, positive impact on somebody's life. So if we could let those people and those type of jobs that are all they're doing is sales and tech support, and let them know, hey, if money's not everything to you and you actually want to go to bed at night thinking, wow, I really made a difference in somebody's life, our field is a great place to do that. You can make a living. You're not going to drive Ferraris and drive big boats. But at the end of the day, you can sleep at night and you can realize you made a really cool impact on people's lives. And I have a feeling most people in this room that are in this field are here because of that, not because the money's great, right? Most likely. So be sure in your marketing to find your unicorn DSPs that are so awesome. Be sure to focus on that. So we're almost done with my presentation. I just got 5 more minutes left. I'll get you guys out of here on time. So what you're seeing here is a canoe.
Take your time.
Take my time. I got to get you on time. I got 4 minutes. So here's a canoe. This is Andrea. This is the star of the show today. So she's up there like, come on, Chip, we need to go. We're in Belize. It's midnight. Remember, Belize is this 4.5-day race. We're 12 hours into this 4-day race, so we're getting tired. The next section, we're transitioning from the bicycles over to the paddle section, which is 22 miles. Now, we have already paddled 22 miles a day. This is the second half of the paddle section. It's going to be 4 hours. Did I mention it was nighttime? 4-mile-per-hour moving water. So we're talking class 1 and 2 rapids. In the jungle. There's mist over the water. Because it's hot during the day in Belize because it's a jungle, right? And then it starts getting cooler, and all of a sudden the water starts having this mist that floats up. The canoe, you can't really see it in the photo, but this is a 1970s shoddy, falling apart canoe. Our mountain bikes is that big pile of gear in the middle of the canoe, is our mountain bikes all taken apart and stuffed into the canoe with our backpacks, with all of our food and all of our water and all of our equipment. And the canoes were really, really top heavy. And the last thing it says, something's getting real, with the hashtag and all that. I actually took this photo. I didn't tell Andrea this until afterward, but I took this photo like, you always hear the jokes on YouTube, like, the guy pounds a beer, hey guys, watch this, and then bad things happen, and I'm thinking, we're about to do something really stupid. We're going to take this canoe on the rapids, just the two of us, for 4 hours at night in the jungle with no 911, no cell service, and we have to survive this thing. But right now, I'm okay. Right now, we are on the shore. We're just hanging out at the transition area. There's fresh water. There's a car. There's people. I could quit right now. And when I'm taking this photo, it's like this might be the last photo of us because they're never going to find us, I didn't tell her. I was like, we got this, man. We've been training, So the reason I put this up here is because when you bring in that DSP we've been talking about, that DSP that's super motivated to make a positive impact on people's lives, and that first 2 weeks on the job, it can be scary. If you're, right, especially with community engagement right now, 1 staff to 3 customers in a car, not at the center. If you're brand new to our field and you get plopped in that Toyota Camry or that little Dodge Caravan with 3 people that you don't know but you read their ISP, and you're going to go into the mall or to Nauticus or all these places and you are by yourself. The same fear that Andrea and I had going on to that Belize River is the same fear that DSP is experiencing on that shift. So if we as companies don't realize that this field can be scary. There can be bad things that happen. There are crises that occur. We can train you. We can do buddy shifts, but at some point, the way our field's going is very minimal staffing with very minimal customers. We're not in this whole 12 people at the day support with the lady at the end of the table making sure everybody's behaving. We're not doing that anymore, right? We don't have institutional settings where the door locks. We have homes that are 1, 2, 3 people in that home. And we have a staff person. When they go to shift, they're the only person there, and they have to deal with whatever's about to occur. Just realize that that's scary, just like it was scary for us to go on that river for the first time. So let's get back to knee-deep in mud and loving life. So you can't see it. The really funny thing is I gave them this projector because they were asking for projectors. And so I am suffering my own suffrage because I brought a dim projector. So, So, you're in the, yeah. I'm going to go to Best Buy and upgrade this thing, Okay, so what you're looking at is a beautiful restaurant. This was a Thai restaurant in Short Pump, Virginia. And I realized most people, when they're loving life, are hanging out in like cool restaurants or a really nice boat or a really nice car. Like that's the thing we're all striving to do in life, is to eat out and just experience really, really nice things. But I would challenge you to push yourself into your area of discomfort. Experience stuff that you have never experienced before. Realize that by asking your staff, your customers, to do things that they've never done is scary and it's hard. Ask somebody with autism to go to a new day support, right? That's scary. Lots of people, lots of noise, different routine. That is just as scary as me going on, and Andrea on this canoe, and asking your staff to go out. You're asking your staff maybe you work at a cube in the air conditioning and it's not hot. You're asking the staff person to get in a Dodge Caravan and run around in 90-degree heat with 3 people that they just met and read an ISP. And you guys know ISPs, how quality they are, right? You know, it's scary. So I would challenge you to get out of your comfort zone. Do something. It doesn't have to be adventure racing because you got to be cuckoo to do that. But do a 5K, do a buddy walk, do a cancer walk. Just do something. Get out, get yourself out of your comfort zone, because it's really hard to ask other people to get out of their comfort zone if you're not willing to get out of yours. Okay? So that's my message. That's Knee Deep in Mud and Loving Life. I really appreciate you guys coming. And I would be happy to take questions if you guys have any.